to see far fewer city cars on the market in the coming years, which is welcome news for Hyundai, who has reaffirmed its commitment to the segment by introducing this third-generation version of its popular i10 tiny hatch. It's billed as the most high-tech city car ever. It might also be the most complete one too. City cars need to feel manoeuvrable and darty if they're to work in congested city traffic. The i10 does. This Mark III model's reduced beltline at the front, where it's 11mm lower, and rear of the vehicle, where it's 13mm lower, provides drivers with a better view of the road on both sides. Plus, there's less C-pillar obstruction, now 11.9 degrees and down from 13.1 degrees, so drivers have better visibility when performing parking manoeuvres. It also helps that the steering rack's light and easy, perfect for low-speed manoeuvring and parking, which is where you'll need the third thing that all tiny runabouts really ought to have, a small turning circle. Here it's 4.86 metres, which means fewer than 3 turns of the wheel lock to lock. So if you spot a parking space on the other side of the road, you'll find that this i10 will be able to quickly change course and dive into it. Engine-wise, mainstream buyers, as before, choose between a 3-cylinder, 1-litre 67 PS MPI unit or the 4-cylinder 1.2-litre 84 PS Kappa MPI power plant that we're trying here. Both engines can be had with either 5-speed manual transmission or a rather slow and jerky 5-speed automated AMT auto gearbox. At the top of the range lies a sporty N-Line variant, which gets the 1-litre GDI 3-cylinder turbo engine from the larger i20 Super Mini, complete with 100 PS and 172 Nm of pulling power. Fortunately, it only comes with the 5-speed manual gearbox. Design-wise, everything's new here. This Mark III i10 sitting 20mm wider than its predecessor. Plus there are slimmer headlights and on high-spec models these lovely LED spot lamps that sit at the edges of this wider front grille. They give it a slightly more upmarket look too. Go big is the strapline Hyundai has used for this third generation model, and indeed it is slightly bigger than its predecessor, though not by much, length having increased by 5mm. More significant is the way that this clean, smoothly muscled body now sits 20mm lower and incorporates clever visual touches like this X-shaped C-pillar. Time to take a seat up front. The cabin of the previous second-generation i10 model was class-leadingly spacious and practical, but rather dull compared to obvious rivals, which is why the Koreans have tried a bit harder on the stylistic front this time round. So we're served up intricate corner vents and this trendier silvered mid-level fascia strip, which on top models features this honeycombed 3D pattern in front of the passenger, which is carried on into the door tops. And it's certainly very sophisticated in here for an A-segment city car, mainly because of the inclusion of the largest centre dash touchscreen in the segment. Avoid entry-level trim and you'll find that this display is 8 inches in size. Between the analogue dials and the instrument cluster there's another much smaller screen, this one black and white, which gives you trip computer data, a digital speedo and safety info. Over-the-shoulder vision is aided by this Mark III design's lower beltline and slimmer C-pillar. Plus, provided you avoid entry-level trim, you get a rear-view camera too. Right, let's take a look in the back seat. Significant here is the news that the wheelbase has increased by 40mm, pushing the wheels further out to the corners so as to improve cabin space. And that's paid dividends in the back. This i10 was always a good pick if you wanted a city car with an interior nearly as big as a Super Mini. Now that's even more the case. Hyundai reckons that a couple of big adults will now be quite comfortable in the rear, an achievement for a car of this kind. Out back, the decently sized 252-litre boot is the same size as that of the previous generation model, which means it remains class-leadingly big. Push the 60-40 split backrest down and capacity rises to 1,050 litres. In summary, city cars have evolved.
These used to be models people went for because they had to. Now, so often they're little runabouts customers own out of choice. For all the industry plaudits the affordable little first and second generation i10 models received, they weren't cars you'd ever have felt especially joyful about owning. But specified correctly, this improved third generation model absolutely could be. Here's our advice. Before you sign for that Super Mini, try one of these first.